a lot of the questions are repeated over and over again. It seems that the most common questions are about the relationship between all the people in Van Halen. Will they ever all be together and happy? Are you and Ed and Al ever going to talk to each other again? And do you think that you would ever do something with Van Halen again?
You know, and I say this every interview that I do, that I'm the never say never guy, you know, and as far as this point in my life and career and whatever, I don't want any drama. And if we could do something, and Sammy says the same thing too. And you know, and obviously Sammy doesn't need the money. You know, I don't need the money, and I want to have fun. At this point in my life, it's like, why go through a bunch of drama? And you know, I mean, if I was 20 years old again, yeah, fine. You know, I'll kick and fight and scream. You know, we'll do all that stuff. And Van Halen, we went through lots of that before we were even signed. You know. But, you know, there was just certain things, it just got to the point to where it was just like, I'm not going to say it was like work, but it wasn't, you know, the kind of fun that I like to have playing. You know, when we did the 2004 tour, man, I thought, you know, this tour should have gone around the world 5 times and played everywhere, you know, the Far East, you know, everywhere. And it's just, I'm not going to point any fingers, but, you know, it was a situation where after 80 shows, we just, you know, couldn't do it without it really being a chore. And, you know, I don't want to cheat the fans that way. You know, they did this tour this last year, and, you know, and made a lot of money. And if they want to call it a reunion tour, that's fine, you know. Eddie considers, you know, people, he says, I heard when people were calling the other half, well, Ed was saying, no, Alex is the other half.
Right.
Him and I are. Okay, well, I mean, you know, that's how he looks at it. That's one thing. But, you know, go out there and play your music. And don't just talk about how, you know, we're doing it, we're playing your music and whatever. Well, yeah, we're out there giving the fans what they want. You know, but getting back to your question, if it was a situation, and I'm sure Sammy would feel the same way, and I mean, I didn't actually talk to Dave. I spoke with Dave's manager last year before the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction debacle, where they didn't show up. And, you know, I told Dave's manager, I said, hey, you know, why sit here and just stew over crap that happened years ago? I'm not like that. If those guys wanted to be like that and be unhappy and be miserable over that kind of stuff for the rest of their life, well, then that's the way they're going to be. Me, I don't care to be on my deathbed, you know, with still talking shit about this or that or whatever, you know. I want to die a happy man.
So for now, you know, for you and Sammy, it's all about having fun, no matter if you're playing at the Cabo Wabo or touring with Chickenfoot, whatever it's going to be called, or Van Halen.
Yeah, and you know, give the fans what they want, give them their money's worth, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you got your.
It's a great thing that you and Sam have been out there every year for the fans. Because Ed and Al don't want to do that, and they shouldn't be angry with you for wanting to go out and have fun and play.
Yeah, but
you know,
they are.
Yeah.
Ed is, or you know, I don't know, you know, who, but you know, it's like, well, don't talk about it. You know, go out and play then.
You know, maybe, like you said, maybe Ed was angry because he considers him and Al Van Halen, but all the millions of fans consider all of you guys Van Halen.
Yeah, you know, we're not a band like, you know, it'd probably be a bad example. The Eagles are a band where, you know a couple of the main guys, and it's like, well, who's that who plays bass, or who's that who's the drummer? It's like Van Halen has always been an entity where, you know, no matter what incarnation of the band it was, you know, with whatever singer, you knew each individuals that made up that band. And, I mean, we were lucky in that when Sammy joined the band, that we had such a strong identity, and we were able to make that change to a different singer and actually kind of elevate the band even more. You know, AC/DC is one of the only other rock bands I know that did that when, you know, Brian Johnson came in. But, you know, it's all about having fun.
Yeah. And back to the Van Halen, like there was a time where nobody thought Sammy would ever come back. And they thought nobody would think Dave would ever come back. So having you back is so much easier to imagine. I mean, it's like a phone call away. You know?
Yeah, it's probably the one thing that would never happen. It's like, well.
And the reunion tour, the 2007 or whatever they want to call it, reunion or three-quarters original, whatever, it was a great tour, and it was really big and successful. Who knows how much better it could have been with you, though. It was like they just can't do everything perfect. They get Dave, which is what everybody's wanted for over 20 years, but then they don't have you.
The fans don't what they've been waiting for.
Right. So I think there's like no closure. Like people, it was good to see that, but they're all still waiting.
Yeah.
You know, and Van Halen, it's kind of cool because if they wanted to, they have another level to graduate to. Now they could do, if they wanted, a tour, the proper reunion tour with the original members. Mm-hmm. And also, they could do another tour with Dave and Sammy if they wanted. So,
yeah, I mean, there are possibilities there. I mean, you know, and and like you said, if you want closure, then that's one way where we could actually have closure. If everybody, you know, did that, and then all of a sudden said, okay, that's it, it's done. Van Halen, as the fans know it, is over, and everyone can go their separate ways. Instead, it's kind of like an open-ended thing. And I go on the Van Halen Links site every day, every morning, just to see what the fans are, you know, what everyone's talking about. And that's one of the. I mean, you know, it's just like I'm sure some of the fans have gotten fed up and moved on and said, okay, you know.
And then they'll get interested again if they hear another reunion.
Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to Dave's manager last year, one of the things that we talked about was, you know. He was asking me, well, Dave wants to know if everything's okay between you guys, you know, for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. I said, hey, you know what, we can't put our crap aside for one night and celebrate one of the best accolades that a band can ever have in their career. I said, you know, heck, I'll shake his hand, I'll give him a hug, we'll do a shot, whatever, and celebrate the evening. And then the next we can say shake hands and go our separate ways, you know. Well, we all know what happened there, you know. And Dave he was the one guy that I thought for sure that when they even announced we were going to be inducted, he would have already been camping out at the Waldorf there, just waiting for the thing. And I don't know what happened, you know. And I can speculate like everybody else that he supposedly went back into rehab, but you know, who knows? There was a lot of press there. Maybe they just wanted to avoid the press.
Maybe
you know, all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, that was right when Eddie went to rehab, but didn't show up.
I don't know. I heard. I was speaking with Slash and Matt from Velvet Revolver because I guess they had spoken to Dave about songs to do there because they were going to. You know, I heard that they were going to play a couple Van Halen songs, and I know Dave wanted them to do Jump. I remember Slash telling me that he told Dave, you know, Dave, you know, pick whatever song you want to do, but we can't do Jump. It's just keyboards or whatever. We're not going to do it. And I don't know if maybe something happened with Dave not getting his way for whatever reason. I don't know. I mean, this is what I got from him and talking to Matt. And all I know is that it was pretty sad that, you know, the two guys that are there to accept the award on behalf of the band, the two guys that aren't even in the band.
In the band,
Yeah, I mean, and it was a bittersweet thing. It was like the greatest night of my life. I had my wife and my kids there. I mean, it was, you know, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. And I think REM was on stage playing, and I said, Sam, God, could you imagine if everybody was here, getting along great, we would have gone up there, and this would have been an induction ceremony that nobody would have ever forgotten. I mean, we would have just kicked this thing in the ass, but, you know, all we got to give them was, you know, getting up there with Paul Schaefer in the band, and do kind of a half-ass version there, and, you know, Velvet Revolver, you know, trying to do the Van Halen stuff, and it was like, it was kind of sad, actually, you know.
Yeah, a lot of fans were disappointed with Velvet Revolver's runaround, I think, where they...
Yeah, well, Scott Weiland, I don't know if he didn't want to... I mean, I think they were already having some friction in the band there between him and the band because, you know, eventually...
Oh, yeah, they were having problems.
Yeah, and, you know, Scott's kind of a funny kind of guy. If you talk to him, you know, he's got his own thing going, whatever, but it was pretty interesting spin that he put on the stuff. But anyway, getting back to, I also talked to Dave's manager, what's his name, Matt Sensio.
Yeah.
That Dave was saying that he wouldn't do a reunion tour without me. Now, I don't know how that whole thing turned out. No, Dave's doing the reunion tour. You're not hearing any interviews with Dave, and that's not Dave. And the fans know that. That is not Dave. So who knows under what circumstances he got him to do that tour.